What do you think?
Whoa, very nice.
It's very cool, Bateman, but that's nothing. What do you think?
Nice.
But wait, you ain't seen nothing yet. White.
Impressive. Very nice. Let's see Paul Allen's. Oh my God.
So this video is going to be brutally honest, less in the sense of cringe, although don't worry, there's still cringe. It'll be more brutally honest in that there won't be as much digital art as you might expect to see. I've been a traditional artist for over 10 years, and digital art is just a huge struggle for me. It's a huge problem point. It's something that I'm not very confident in my skills with, and it's a skill that I would really like to improve on this year specifically. I have a relatively large amount of digital art over the past 5 years or so of drawing digitally, and I wanted to share it with you today. I'm starting off nice. I want to make myself look good to start with. This was just a random sketch that I drew in 2018. I finished it right before the year ended. It just was one of those sketches that just keeps going. I remember being really proud of all of the effects that I had added, like with the glasses here and the shimmer and the eyeshadow. I was really proud of that. This was 5 years ago at this point, and I still think it holds up to time. I love how the eyes came out. Off to a good start. Yeah, this is like one of those examples of art that I make that makes me not want to do digital art anymore. I had no idea what I wanted out of this drawing. This is one of my OCs. He is blind, and that's like basically all I have fleshed out about him. And I wanted to try lineless coloring, painter, like a more painterly style, and I had no idea what a clipping mask was, how to use selection tools or blending mode on the drawing, so you can see how little I understood how to draw in this. Digital art was just not my strength, and I still think that it's not my fortitude in drawing, but you know, I think I remember this being one of the last drawings I did on Clip Studio before just totally giving up. This isn't in chronological order, by the way. None of these drawings are in any particular order, so I'll just try and shout out the year that I made them if I can remember. I think this one must have been around 2018, same as this drawing, but much less execution. I'm always trying to find ways of streamlining my digital process so that the drawings come out quicker, but the process of learning how to get there is very, very time heavy, and I always get frustrated when I have to put in that time. I think this could look better if I invested a little more into it. Overall, it's just really hard to look at, so let's just keep moving. This is actually a freebie that I use in my shop now. I cleaned up the design a little bit, and maybe I'll show that later on in the video. This was the original sketch behind my freebie design, or my current freebie design. It's just a little chibi version of Anna. I wanted a super chill drawing session, and this is what I was able to come up with. So I had this sketch to start with, and I rendered it here. Here's a drawing I made of Lenely from D. Grayman. I remember being really proud of this one, but looking back on it, it's definitely not aged very well. I did filter it to make it look a little better, so see here it's a little more pink, it has a little bit more color. I was really proud of this lace design, not a choice that I would still make now. And the eyes are just really bad. I thought they looked so cool at the time, but they just look really bad, okay? The hair, you can obviously tell that I just didn't want to try at all. Even the line art is just not up to par, like it's not even the same color in places. And anatomy aside, there's just so many things about this drawing that I would change if I did it again. It's very flawed, but I was super proud of it at the time. I remember this was around the summer of 2018, and I was just alone in my room that whole summer, basically just drawing the whole time. I was really proud of the artwork that I made here. I still really enjoy this ink bleed effect with the line art. I am still trying to find a brush that can emulate that for me on Procreate, and I still haven't been able to find any. Here's just a sketch page. I didn't want to show off a bunch of drawings that are just like sketches, but this one I would consider like a finished sketch page. I believe I drew this in this program. I either drew this in this program or uploaded it from my sketchbook and then edited it, but it's more likely that I just drew this in the program. I remember this was also in 2018. I was super into Coraline. My little brother and I would watch it all the time. I wanted to make a Coraline piece. I do have an unfinished watercolor Coraline piece that after 6 years, I'm still hoping to scan it and remake it digitally. Yeah, not too mad at this one. This one's not too bad. Here was some coloring practice that I wanted to do. I have the sketch, something similar to cell shading, and then mostly that painter look. This was an old persona that I used. I am still really uncomfortable with coloring on digital art, and just coloring in general. It's just so overwhelming to me. Unless I'm using like watercolor or colored pencil, it's just really overwhelming to me. I am trying to find something in between these two styles with Procreate, and I'm slowly working my way towards it, or at least experimenting with other types of styles. I'm hoping to get there sometime in this year. As for whether this holds up to the test, I think anatomy-wise, still pretty solid. I think this is my favorite anatomy. Rendering-wise, not very good. The colors are super muted. I kept using this gray background, which I think dulled a lot of the colors and didn't really have the effect that I was hoping it would have. The use of brushes is just really juvenile in my opinion. I'm using a super hard line art brush and then softening it with like a small pencil brush and then painting over it with the paint, and it just comes across as really inexperienced with digital art. It's not as good as it could be. This is just a super simple sketch, but I think it's so cute. It's just a little bear on a black background, and it's so cute. I don't use colors in this way very often. I wish I did because I love super neon colors. I thought this one was cute, so I added it in. Here's an Alan sketch. I don't know what I was going for here, especially with the pants that are like 5 sizes too big on him. And then there's just like a random little little cat drawing. So yeah, obviously didn't know what I was going for with all of it. I don't really know what I was hoping to achieve here. Yeah, no, the sketch did not help me figure that out at all. Oh, that one looks pretty good though. Where did I go wrong? I must have just been experimenting with an airbrush. Okay, you can obviously tell I was a single virgin throughout 2018. These are mostly 2018, by the way, around like the same 6-month period. I was really trying so hard to get used to using a trackpad with Clip Studio. I really love Clip Studio Paint. I really want to use it, but this trackpad is not it. I gotta figure out some way to get it on either on an iPad or to buy a new tablet by itself. If there are any tablet companies watching, please. I wanted to draw Tinkerbell. I named the file Tinkerboo. I don't even know. It just hurts to look at this. The anatomy is awful, first of all. These hands. It's like I half rendered the painting and just didn't want to finish. I should have done a lot of things. This was the original sketch that the drawing was based on, and I still think that the traditional sketch is better than the finished painting. Oh, I hate that feeling. Well, I don't know. I think I like the face better in the painting. The anatomy overall is still so much better here. What's going on with this skirt? Here was some sketching practice. This was 2021, and I solidified the idea that the trackpad is just not for me. I still have it. I feel like I should just keep giving it a shot until it clicks, but I would really like to get a display tablet. It would make CSP so much easier on me. But yeah, I did this pose practice. I really like how it came out. I wish I had finished it. I just did not want to deal with the rendering process for this, especially with the hair. Oh god. And this was also from 2021. I don't really know what I was going for, but I do like how this color palette kind of blends with each other. I should have stuck to these 2 colors and these 2 colors and then just like took out this whole section because it's just so muted and mixed together. These colors would have been very exciting to work with, and the execution is just not great. This is my monster OC that I created for TikTok a couple years ago. Their name is Aster. I like how the ears came out. The ears are perhaps the only rendered part of this whole piece. It's like I wanted to figure out how to draw this lineless. The sketching doesn't look that bad. It has potential. I don't know what happened. Here was some more practice I did in 2021. Still not my favorite, but there's a clear difference in how clean the art is compared to 2018. I mean, if we look back, it still has some of the same vibes with line art and coloring choices, but it's just overall more polished, and the colors go together a little bit better, I think. Me, when I finally learned how to use clipping masks. I think I was following a Lavender Town tutorial on some of her favorite tips for digital art. That's how I learned about using selection to move around things and clipping masks. I know I'm so late to the digital art game. I feel so behind whenever I see like digital artists online. I would have to be focusing only on digital art this whole year in order to even get close to catching up with what people are finding out about on Procreate. Don't even get me started on Clip Studio Paint. The people who make art with this program are just insane. But yeah, I did a little bit more practice. I like the eyes here. here. I always get overwhelmed with the amount of brushes that you can choose from, and I think that kind of holds me back a little bit. I think I would perform better if I just picked one brush and stuck with it for the whole process. Here's another sketch from about 2017 or 2018. This is one of my characters from my Inktober in 2017, so if any of you watched my sketchbook tour and remember those characters, you would remember her. This is the princess, I believe. A super awkward sketch. I gave up on this. I didn't even bother finishing the sketch. Finishing up the Clip Studio Paint portion of this tour is my painting of my OC Anna. This is probably the most coherent drawing I've made on Clip Studio Paint specifically in my digital art process so far. The colors match. I did a lot of heavy filtering on it. So yeah, the sketch is not nearly as good as the finalized piece. I tried to take my time with a single layer painting, I believe, and I'm super proud of the process. I love drawing like this where it's just like a rainbow threw up all over all the colors. If there's anything I could fix, it's how blurry the drawing is. I think I used like an airbrush for the whole piece. It kind of gave it that blurry look, which I like, but could be improved on. Also, we've got like just a random separate brush over here being used for the signature, which totally like takes away from the drawing itself. But hey, it's progress. And you know what? There's coherent braids here. I wish I could take off the signature, but there's a coherent braid. I'm still proud of that braid. I do not have the energy to draw all of Anna's braids. It's so much. So the last drawing that I wanted to show from my CSP era is this one. It's another drawing of Anna. I don't remember if I used a traditional sketch or not, but the anatomy is pretty okay, and I wanted to make some pixel art out of it, so I threw some pixel effects on it in Photoshop, and I love the result. It makes me want to make so much more pixel art. Anna looks so cute. It's the same picture, just, you know, thrown in Photoshop. It looks so good. I love it. So obviously we're not using CSP anymore. Around 2021, I abducted my partner's iPad and downloaded Procreate. And I started using Procreate to draw, and using the Apple Pencil and basically just being able to see as I draw. Life-changing for me. I will always be doing digital art either on Procreate or with some sort of display tablet from now on. The trackpad is just not my favorite, and I've just had a much easier time learning how to understand digital software through Procreate. Let's walk through some of the actual digital art that I've made on the platform. So this was probably one of the first things that I ever drew on Procreate. I want to make him a sticker design. It's Buff Bear. Oh yeah, and then here's the background for him. This one's just so goofy. I love this one. I want to make it a sticker. I just don't know how people would like it. Here was another drawing I did. Again, so much more cohesive compared to the CSP paintings, like all of them combined. Had an easier time understanding clipping masks again, and I had a ton of fun playing around with Gaussian blur to give it that nice Persona 5 look. This was made towards the end of 2021. Here's another unfinished piece that I will probably never get to. I think I liked the idea of it, and I liked the idea of messing around with more elements and brushes here, but ultimately it just didn't go through for me. Something about it, it's not worth pursuing. There's just a lot of pieces that just don't fit together, for lack of a better word. Here's another piece I did, going back to that Gaussian blur with the easy cell shading. I had a fun time doing this, but both of those drawings that share this style, I think they look clean and the colors are pleasant to look at, but something about it isn't what I want my style to look like. I feel like I've been trying on different styles a lot over the past 2 years or so of being on Procreate. I still haven't found the thing that's just right for me. I like how this one came out. There's nothing inherently wrong with it. It could definitely use some improvements. I think the biggest thing that I could change would just be to change the color of the line art, and that would probably make me feel 10 times better about it. One of my first semi-realism pieces in a hot minute. I drew Dylan Davey. I wanted to recreate his pink leopard look. I had so much fun drawing this. I think it took me 6 or so hours, so really not that bad. And I had a ton of fun learning how to blend skin tones and add just a little bit of that cartoonish effect to a semi-realistic look with like the leopard print and the sparkles in the jewelry. It's great. I really had a ton of fun with this drawing. This was a piece I made right around when I dropped out of college, so around September 2021. I was in a really bad funk. We don't have to get into specifics about it. Just trust me when I say I needed to drop out of college mentally. This is right before I really started pursuing online growth with my art and markets and conventions in person. So I just had no idea what to do with myself. It's weird looking back on that time in my life because it's almost like I don't recognize myself anymore. This is another unfinished piece that I would still really like to finish. It's a cat eating a Cheeto Puff. Here's a quick cartoony drawing I did of my cat Amethyst. We bought her like a little bunny cat hat. She looked so cute in it, but she hated wearing it. Here was some line work practice of a traditional sketch that I have in my sketchbook. Here's the original sketch. I wanted to practice some line work on top, hopefully maybe finish it. At this point, this drawing is 3 or 4 years old. I would still really like to finish it though. I love the angle of the hands. Here's another sketch that was just not finished. I really liked the pose, but I could not figure out what I wanted for the hair, so I just avoided it. But I really like the pose and would really like to try redrawing that pose. I think it's super cute. A room study of Freddy Fish and the Haunted House. That is like so neat. Did any of you guys play those games as kids? We had them on our computer. They were back when like you could buy computer games on like floppy disks and just shove them in your computer. I just loved the scene from this game and wanted to redraw it as kind of like a study. Never finished it. I would love to finish it. It's just hard to find time to finish these things, but what I did get done, I had a lot of fun drawing. It's just fun to build that space slowly and just copy it. Here was, I think it was Paloma the Peaches Draw This in Your Style. I don't really remember what the prompt was, but I remember having a fun time with this one. I got to play around with textures and all aspects of the drawings. I wanted to go for more of like a clay mixed media type look, so I added, you know, a field from the Midwest. And then I had a ton of fun adding special brushwork for the textures. I wanted to give it like a felt cottony look. I really like how scrapbooky it came out. I believe this was another Draw This in Your Style that I did. I had taken a little bit of a break from digital art at that point. This one was kind of rough for me to finish. I had a lot of fun with the line art, but coloring was still so confusing for me, and still is, especially trying to blend coloring styles between the hair and the skin. They required such different coloring and rendering processes that it's hard to make them match. But I did have a lot of fun with the texture on the scar and shading in things like the hands and the face and playing around with the symmetry tool. That was tons of fun for the eyes. We're getting into more like late 2022, and at this point I had taken quite a big dip from digital art to focus more on preparing for markets. I have some more work from 2021 and 2022 in some other folders, but this is just my personal work that didn't really go anywhere. I wanted to get back into Procreate, but I didn't want to make it too complicated on myself with drawing. I feel like I go in wanting it to look a specific way, but I don't really know how I want it to look or how to get there. So I just sit there frustrated with whatever I come up with because I didn't really know what to expect to begin with. And with this drawing, I just wanted to take it easy and just practice getting familiar with the software again. It was nice to practice with more anatomy and a sketchier line art. I've been noticing that the sketchier types of line arts and drawing styles are really resonating with me. I think it might be because it matches more of my sketchbook style of drawing with pencil. It's just kind of comforting. I think it was just a basic oil pastel brush. Here's a made sketch of Link that I still have yet to finish. I wanted to mash him up with Madoka Magica. I gave him a dress that I don't know if it's exactly the Madoka Magica dress, something based on it. We've got like the Triforce built into the bow, overwhelmed with different ways of coloring, whether that be like a cell shading or painting on top of line art. All of that was really overwhelming. So if I did continue with this, I'd probably restart. I think this was one of the first times where I made a digital piece that looked like a finished digital piece. There's a couple other examples that I'll show later on that I do think look finished. This one I was so proud of. It's Claudine from Monster High. Playing with textures, so much fun. I remember masking a leopard print on top of the overalls and it basically like finished the outfit for me, so I didn't have to draw it. So that was like totally awesome. And I've learned how to really use the selection brush to refine my coloring style as I go, which helped a ton with the hair. Pretty much all of the hair, clothing, details were added using the selection brush, which just makes my job so much easier. It looks so good! I will say the line art took forever and I was not a fan of that. I did not like how long it took to make the line art. This was my most recent digital art drawing that I've made. It was for my Pokemon video, which was just uploaded last week. If you're watching this the day that I'm making this, it should already be up for everybody who's watching this video. This was the finalized piece with both Lilligant and Rabambi together. I took some niche Pokemon Pokemon ideas from you guys, and I picked out my favorites and tried to design a human character based on them. One thing that I didn't share in the video is that there were actually supposed to be 3 characters instead of 2. I also wanted to make a human version of Miss Magius, and I got as far as coloring in her color scheme and designing her outfit before ultimately deciding not to include her in the video. But this would have been a 3rd drawing. Just the shoes, come on, those look so good. I was so happy with those. Miss Magius would have been a great addition to the video. I would have loved to add her to the video, but I didn't have time that week. And yeah, so here was her outfit if anyone was interested in that. Tons of fun making that video. Here is a sticker design that I made sometime last year. It's my character Anna wearing a pink pussy hat. I think this is one of my favorite line art designs ever. Super simple coloring, but the line art is just so chunky and great. I had a blast doing this. I should remember what brush I used for this because it came out fire. I had a ton of fun making this one. But yeah, it just looks so crisp. I'm always so proud of this design whenever I see it. The eyes are my favorite, obviously. Another sticker design that I've made. You guys have probably seen this design a couple times at this point. It's shown up in a couple of my YouTube videos. It was a Lisa Frank inspired anti-capitalist design. I think textures are one of my favorite things to play with, and it looks so cohesive. I really love the gradient and the shading as well. Yeah, another one that was just super fun to make. I remember the line art wasn't too horrible. I should really try to remember what that brush was that I used because this is the 2nd design where I used that same brush. Oh yeah, and here's the cleaned up version of that Anna sketch we saw at the beginning of the video. She's just so cute. I tried to keep the same types of textures that I used in the original drawing. Whoa, I tried to use the same textures that I used in the original drawing, or at least try to hold true to that same type of textures and give her those little freckles that she has. This is the official freebie design for all orders in my shop right now. And this was the other digital design that I've made for my shop. I think this drawing took me the most out of any digital drawing that I've ever made. It took about 20 hours, but I'm really happy with how it looks. I think most of the time was spent on lining the hair. That was just absolutely ridiculous. I think the spikes are my favorite. All of the stickers are hand drawn by me and then just like duplicated. I played around with some glitter textures to try and make it look more like real stickers, but yeah, I hand drew all of these stickers. So I think maybe I could have saved a little bit of time if I just didn't do that and just like uploaded different stickers or something. I don't know. Here was the draft for that piece. This is one of those drawings where I'm honestly surprised that I stuck it out to the finish line because it was definitely a daunting piece to make. It did take quite a bit of time. I don't really enjoy spending that much time on a singular piece, especially with how hectic the algorithm is lately. You know, it's worth it. It's worth it when it comes out looking like that. Okay, so 3 characters that I drew for a banner that I made for my local town. The banner ended up being either 2 by 4 feet or 2 by 5 feet. I don't even remember. It was the largest drawing I've ever made in my life, which I know is not that large to a lot of you, but to me, who's used to drawing within the confines of a 9 by 12 piece of paper, it was very large, and it took a very large amount of my time. I think it took me over a month just spending all of my time painting it with acrylic, and I never use acrylic paint, so I had to learn how to use acrylic paint while drawing on the biggest vinyl banner that I've ever drawn on. It was a huge task. I don't know if I have any pictures left over of it. It was definitely a daunting task and not one that I plan on doing again anytime soon. I think the prompt was like building community. I wanted to draw 3 college students shopping out on the town. I hand drew the background. Oh my god, this took forever to make. I ended up being pretty proud of the result, but I don't think the result was worth the hours I put in or the financial compensation I got, if I'm being real. This was a commission I drew for my cousin of, what's his name? The guy from Resident Evil. I don't draw men, and I wanted to practice my digital skills. Thankfully, my cousin was super nice with me while drawing this. It seemed to really like the end result. I have mixed feelings about it, but since it's a commission, I don't really want to trash on it because I did work really hard on it. I will say I liked the line art. The coloring style could have been a lot better. It could have been executed a lot better, but I was honestly really struggling with mental illness and mental health issues at the time, and this was just the best that I could put out at the time. This was an unfinished 6-character sheet that I was making for TikTok. I got about halfway done. I didn't finish Rosalina, but I did finish Misa Misa and Stocking from Panty Stocking stocking. You can tell that by the time I got to Rosalina, it had been months since I started. So the art style is like totally different. This was fun to do, but it was very time consuming because, I mean, these are like overly rendered drawings that are just not necessary when it's going to end up being this big, you know? And it was just overwhelming. And then I had, you know, the hacking incident where I lost all of my social media presence. But I would like to retry the 6 characters sheet for YouTube. It would be nice to make like a longer form video talking about all 6 of the characters. I love how Misa's eyes came out. I wish the color scheme was a little bit more matched. And my rendering for the coloring just doesn't match the line art. Again, just simply changing the color of the line art probably would have made me feel a lot better about it. The line art always took forever for all of these. I really like how stocking came out. It's a little bit too detailed in some areas and not detailed enough in others. I spend so long on the line art and figuring out the details precisely that by the time it gets to rounding out the whole drawing, I'm too tired to actually follow through with what I want. So I'm just left feeling really tired with an incomplete artwork, and it just totally burns me out. So I just need to find a compromise with myself on that. I tried to a little bit with Rosalina. This was more coloring in a sketch and going from there, and I like it. There's still something missing though. I just have to figure out what that is. Here is a Christmas present that I made for my partner Jake. It's a Pokemon card of our cat Amethyst, if she was a Pokemon. So this is her. I gave her all of her stats. She's obviously a fairy type. Every aspect of this drawing is handmade. I did not edit a Pokemon card and just edit her in. No, I hand drew the entire thing from start to finish. I traced over an example card and then hand drew everything around it. This piece took so long as well. I printed it out onto super thick paper with a Pokemon card backing, and then I added a holographic foil on top to make her like a legendary Pokemon. I love how Amethyst came out. I love how the background came out. The bell is just so cute. She wears a collar with a bell on it so that we don't like step on her. And then her color scheme is purple and yellow and red. Her ears also have hearts in them. It's kind of like a small detail that gets left out really easily. This was a really fun project to work on, but very time consuming. This is the last piece that I'll be showing in my digital art tour today. This is another gift that I made for Jake. It's Tanjiro from Demon Slayer, and it's probably one of my favorite digital art pieces I've ever made. It was pretty time consuming to do the line art, but everything else was very simple for me, and it's something that I would really like to emulate more often in future pieces. I think distancing myself from line art will ultimately be the best move for my art style digitally. The rendering of Tanjiro himself was really frustrating to work on, but the fire came out so good. I'm so proud of how this fire came out. It just looks so dynamic, and it's using the textures to my own advantage instead of being bogged down by so many different textures and not being able to refine it to do what I want it to do. I'm able to funnel it and make it look like fire. He starts to look like pixel art the closer I get. And the background was just like some stock image that I edited in, and then I like blurred it and lowered the opacity so that it didn't look like a picture of a forest. It just looked like a theoretical background that I could have drawn. The fire is by far my favorite part though. The fire had so many different elements going into it. It didn't take me very long to make it at all, which I really liked. Thanks for watching this long. In order to help out my analytics, I'm just gonna stop the video now.